Hey everyone, welcome first-year med students to this explainer, the ancient patient journey inside the Asclepieion. Okay, let's dive into this.
As you're walking the magnificent grounds of Epidaurus today, let's take a quick step back in time. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, that you are a patient living in ancient Greece. Let's say you're suffering from a chronic lung disease or, maybe a really severe skin condition. Your local healers, they haven't been able to help at all. You need specialized, immersive care. So, where do you go? Well, you definitely don't go to a sterile, white-walled city hospital. Instead, you pack your bags and journey to a sanctuary. And what you'd find is truly incredible. While you're exploring Epidaurus right now, picture the sheer scale of these places, much like its sister sanctuary at Kos. We're talking about massive, multi-terraced architectural wonders built in these stunning, lush natural environments. They were purposely situated way out in the country, away from the bustling cities, completely surrounded by cypress forests and natural water springs. Literally every single inch of the landscape was designed to promote healing. It was basically an ancient, holistic hospital campus.
Well, how did the admission process actually work back then? You didn't just walk up to a desk and fill out paperwork on a clipboard. No, the intake process began with a literal cleansing. You would take a mandatory purification bath right there at one of those sacred natural springs. And after this initial physical and spiritual cleaning was done, you were officially admitted. You'd then be assigned your own private room in this long, kind of hotel-like building on the campus known as the Cataclynthentirio.
Once you were all settled in, your treatment began. And this is fascinating, because long before they ever tried any drastic surgical measures, ancient priests and therapists treated you as a whole mind-body entity. So the crucial point is just how heavily ancient medicine relied on lifestyle interventions. Your daily prescription included strict rest, therapeutic baths, and these incredibly soothing massages. But it also prescribed entertainment. Seriously, you were ordered to attend the theater, read special texts, take promenades in the fresh air, and even participate in athletic races.
Because exercise was literally a massive pillar of ancient care. But, what if you were just way too sick or weak to run in a foot race? Well, the physician Asclepieion championed what was basically an early form of physiotherapy, passive exercise. He actually prescribed therapies using these wild rocking appliances. Picture a swinging bed where assistants would gently rock the patient back and forth. It was perfectly designed to stimulate the body and promote healing swiftly, safely, and pleasantly, even if you were completely bedridden.
And right alongside exercise, your diet was strictly controlled. Clinical nutrition was actually a really heavily debated topic. The standard ancient hospital diet often started out with just fasting, eventually moving on to a simple barley broth for the sick. When meat was finally allowed, they favored easily digestible white meats or pork. But here is a fascinating twist. You would be strictly banned from eating fresh fruit. No way, right? The famous physician Galen actually suffered an acute illness after eating autumn fruit, which led to this really widespread belief that fresh fruit was a frequent cause of disease, probably just due to rapid spoilage in the warm Mediterranean climate.
Okay, so your days are filled with highly structured diets, passive swinging exercises, baths, and lots of fresh air. Honestly, it sounds a lot like a modern health retreat, right? But the true, distinctively ancient medical intervention was still to come. The absolute climax of your treatment didn't happen in a brightly lit operating room. It happened in complete, pitch-black darkness. So what actually happened when the sun went down?
This brings us to the mysterious phase known as incubation. At night, you underwent a second purification ritual and put on these pure white robes. You'd then enter a restricted, porticoed building called the Abaton, which literally translates to the inaccessible. Only patients who were totally ready for a cure were allowed to enter. Inside, you were put into a really deep sleep, or narcosis, and during the night you hoped and prayed for a dream visitation from the god Asclepieion himself, or maybe his sacred snakes and dogs that literally roamed the silent halls while you slept. Then in the morning, you would recount your visions to the priest therapists. They would clinically interpret your dream to finalize your medical treatment.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that these specific artifacts prove these sanctuaries weren't just about dreams and magic. Very real, completely tangible medicine was happening here too. Excavations have uncovered actual metallic surgical instruments, things like scalpels and probes, which were used for intense procedures like tapping for dropsy or clearing tubular organs. And get this, patients would leave behind these incredibly detailed marble models of the body parts that were successfully treated, like breasts, eyes, or limbs. It was their way of saying a massive thank you to the sanctuary.
Furthermore, these ancient doctors were incredibly meticulous record keepers. Before you were ever discharged and sent home, your entire case was documented. Archaeologists have actually found marble columns at cost detailing the patient's condition, the specific treatment applied, the outcome, and yep, even the exact sum of money paid. These marble plaques are literally the very first medical records and medical bills in ancient Greece.
Which perfectly brings us to the absolute foundation of the Hippocratic approach. The logo of the International Hippocratic Foundation, of course, features a phrase you have absolutely heard in your modern medical classes: better to prevent than to treat. Between the prescribed promenades, the strict dietary restrictions, the passive exercise machines, and the psychological dream therapy, ancient doctors genuinely treated the mind and body as one integrated system. So, as you walk these grounds today and continue your modern medical training, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. When we look at today's huge push toward holistic, preventative lifestyle medicine, how much has actually changed in the last 2,000 years of patient care?